All right. You know what's funny, bro? Recently, there was a couple people's birthdays. Was that February the 23rd? Yeah, 23rd. We had Jamal Murray.
Yup.
We have Andrew Wiggins. We had D'Angelo Russell. Jamal. Shout out to Jamal, but I was getting ready to say all stars. But yeah, it's a crazy birthday, great trio. Just kind of want to send them all birthday love all at the same time. So happy birthday to those guys. Shout out to our friends up north. Shout out to Andrew.
Canada guys.
We got Andrew, as well as Jamal. Shout out to D-Lo, former Laker, former Net, doing his thing with the Timberwolves, everything like that.
One of the most underrated players in the world too, D'Angelo Russell. It's crazy because like lottery pick, leads a team to the playoffs, then he gets traded to the Golden State Warriors, and then it's just kind of like people stock was very low on him after that situation because it was like a 1-year rental. And then he gets to Minnesota, he was hurt, and then like this year he's been very, very like legit, like passing, shooting, like he's tough. He's tough. A lot of people don't talk about people don't give him enough love and credit when we talk about like the 25 and under, but he's tough. He's special.
Lefty way. Shout out to all my lefties, man. Making it do what it do. But it's so funny hearing D-Lo made me think of the Timberwolves. And thinking of the Timberwolves, it made me think of Karl-Anthony Towns, which ultimately made me think of a tweet and made me think of a statement that a lot of people may run with and like to talk about is, do you believe that Karl-Anthony Towns is the best shooting big of all time?
I mean, if you want to play the position games, he said he's like the best shooting big man for his like a center position. That's what he plays. But really, he's a stretch big. So you have to ask yourself, like, all right, stretch bigs in the league. You got Cat, you got Kevin Love, you got Kristaps Porzingis, and then you start looking at the all-time. You got Dirk Nowitzki. So that's where it comes down to, like, is Cat a better three-point shooter than Dirk Nowitzki? And the crazy thing about that is, it's like Dirk got busy at the second level on the basketball court. Like, he probably had a better midi than three. But we know that when he had the ball at the top of the key or at the three-point line, it was all net cash. So I don't know. It's very hard. I really can't. I don't know.
But see, all right. So here's my biggest thing too, right? Is if we're gonna ask a question. I mean, you know me. I like to really pay attention to the actual question, right? So if someone were to ask if Cat is the greatest three-point shooting big versus if Cat is the best three-point shooting center, are two different things, right? Because I would consider obviously a Dirk a big, you're 7 feet tall. But I wouldn't consider Dirk a center, right? So is Karl-Anthony Towns the greatest three-point center?
That would be a fact.
So
that's it's kind of like right. Like you said, it's like he's a stretch big. He's a stretch forward. Like really, he's a stretch big. Like you play the 4 or 5. Like they can both. Like Kevin Love was playing the 5 sometimes with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put him. I mean, a lot of guys can obviously play in more than one position, and I know. We had Rashad Phillips on here, and a lot of people, break down the game that we're in now. It's not just a traditional 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
4, 5. Yeah.
But, just for the sake of conversation, you feel me? If we have to label guys, okay, he's a center. Okay, he's a small forward. I would say that Cat is a center and Dirk is a 4. You know what I'm saying? Especially when Dirk won those championships.
The question is he the greatest shooting big man?
So, all right. So, right. And I'm glad you repeated. So, is Karl-Anthony Towns the greatest three-point shooting center of all time? Absolutely. And I want to make sure people understand that there's a difference between a center and a big. I know folks obviously going to bring up Dirk.
We're just talking about the positions.
Right. If we just talking about position-wise, to me, it's not even a question. Now, if you want to sit here and say whether him or Dirk, all right, cool. But if we're saying center, like let's really talk about it. You feel me? So, but big?
No. So no for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I would say no. It's still Dirk. I mean, obviously, with Cat, winning a 3-point contest, that's fire. But like, that's just a competition, right? That's just a shootout. That's just all right. Which guy is going to catch fire the quickest in terms of a 3-point contest? But Dirk, and not to say that Cat isn't consistent with his 3-point shot, but Dirk was really, really like that. Like it was a part of like his overall game. Like Cat, he has his fair share of posters. He even can get, busy at the second level of the basketball court and dribbling a little bit. But Dirk's like main thing was just letting it fly. Like Dirk's main thing, even if you want to sit here and say, okay, he shot middies and tough fades and all that, he was still letting it fly from behind the arc. So
yeah, I think
I'm gonna go with Dirk.
I think people confuse like Dirk Nowitzki as like, don't get it twisted. Like he was a great shooter, but Dirk was really just a great basketball player. Like he was not one of these like guys. Like there's so much focus with analytic ball and space out the floor and like get threes, get layups, and all that nonsense. It's just kind of like that's why the usage rate is just very high for some of these guys when they're taking these shots. So that helps. But Dirk Nowitzki during his time, he was a player that just really took what the defense gave him. So if it was a mid-range shot, he's taking that. If it was a three-point shot, he's taking that. If it's a pump fake, drive, get to the rim, dunking, he's taking that. So that's what I'm saying. The game has changed so much. So I got to give the edge to Dirk Nowitzki because, like I said, shooting the ball is not just the three-point shot as well. It's what you do in the second zone of basketball court, what you do in the third. It's even what you do if you can extend it all the way out to the fourth if you're good enough. So it's just kind of like overall shooting, so overall package, like we're just talking about shooting in general, I got to give the edge to Dirk Nowitzki.
Well,
Dirk Nowitzki is cold.
Well, see, okay,
cold,
and again, that's another thing too. So what question did you just answer? And that's not even like a sarcastic rhetorical response. But I want to make sure that I address it. So like you're saying that Dirk is the greatest shooting big of all time, right?
Yeah, easy.
Okay. No, and I say that because there's a difference between whether we're saying he's the greatest shooter or greatest three-point shooter. You know what I'm saying? So if we're saying shooting, that means we're also including the fade. If that's the case, it damn sure is Dirk. I thought if we were just talking about three-pointer, okay, maybe some people might believe it's Cat. But if we're just saying shooting, it's not even like it's not even a debate. Now I'll entertain the 3.1 just because obviously the times I were in, Cat's fresh off winning it. You know how retired players get views sometimes. People tend to forget. The heat of the moment, Cat just won, all that. Cool, 3-point, whatever. Yeah. But if we're just talking about straight up like letting it fly from anywhere, yeah, we might want to slow down. Especially when you talk about being able to catch and shoot. Especially when you talk about being able to put the ball on the floor. Especially when you factor in 3-point shooting, all that. So I mean, I'm not mad at it. I get it. I'm sorry, Timberwolves fans. You'll be all right. But I mean, it's still Dirk. I mean, this is still a Hall of Fame player that we're talking about. This is still a champion that we're talking about. And obviously, when it comes to just straight up shooting, we don't have to necessarily compare resumes. Don't get me wrong, but like a large part of why he's a Hall of Famer and a champion is because he was a great shooter. It wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't averaging 15 boards a game. You feel me? He wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Getting you 4 blocks a night. It was his ability to score the basketball and shoot. So, I'm gonna go with Dirk if that's the case and that's the angle we're working with.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's just like I don't even know if like sometimes people get confused because people confuse the fact of like great shooter and scoring. You know what I'm saying? Like people talk about like Stephen Curry. Like Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, but he's also he's one of the best scorers ever. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think the difference with Cat and the difference with like Dirk Nowitzki, like shooting, like all right, catch and shoot and stuff like that. Cat is more of a specialist when it comes to that, but like Dirk is a straight up like he's one of the greatest shooters of all time. But he's a straight up scorer. Like any spot on the basketball court, break you down, isolation. Like he was a 3-level. He was a 3-level savant. Like Dirk was special. Like it's the reason why he's. I think what is he 6 all time on the all time scoring list, and a lot of people don't even know that or talk about that. Like he was a problem. He was a bucket.
And you're talking about a guy that's played with the same team. You know what I'm saying? Well, both of them actually. I mean, obviously, Cat is younger, but this idea you got 2 bigs that can shoot the ball, in a market where they may not receive as much attention as certain other cities. But I mean, hey, it's always good to kind of have those discussions. I'll say
they're cute.
But
they're cute.
I'm about to say, but
they're cute.
It's also a reminder of how people may let the past just
jump the
treat it all.
Like, it's like guys retire, been out the league, 3-4 years. People start forgetting. Dwayne Wade's another guy. Like people, all time lists and stuff like that. Like they have these lists every year, and it's like Dwayne Wade keep getting lower and lower. I'm just like, what's really happening here? Even Dirk Nowitzki. So it's just kind of like it's cool, it's cute. These conversations, stuff like that when we talk about certain guys' attributes, but we can't forget like it's really levels to this because like Dirk Nowitzki was the best player on the championship team and as a big man, which is like I'm not going to say it's rare because it's just like the game kind of evolved over time, especially from the 90s to 2000s, but it's just like it was still where we were starting to get into that wing dominant, that wing dominant league where wings were the best players on championship caliber teams and stuff like that. Dirk was a big man on, Dirk was a big man. He won a championship. So it's just kind of like,
let's
pump the brakes. Like, I can't sit up and say like, I love Cat, but like, I can't sit up and say the question before the season was, can he be the best player on a playoff team? So it's just like, it's really, we talk about Dirk, who's the best player for multiple years on a playoff team, and then like was the best player on a championship teim. So it's like,
well, yeah. I mean, I don't even want to slide into.
I'm just saying it's level. I'm just saying it's level. So.
Right. I don't want to slide into the Dirk versus Cat debate because then that will just be an unfair race. But I mean, we talking about resumes, but shooting wise, there's some debate because I mean, I feel personally, Dirk's championship run, like you talk about the teams and players that he had to face. That's part of the reason why I think he should be somewhat high in the top 75 list. And we think about guys that didn't make it versus players that have made it. It's a little embarrassing, I would say, even as a just a person who watches the game.
There's a lot of let's get into this because there's a lot of guys that made the top 75 list that people tend to forget, and people tend to like just. When you compare certain players, people just think it's a automatic, like the whole like Steve Nash situation, Tony Parker. It's one of my friends on here thinks that like Steve Nash was so much better than Tony Parker, and I'm just here to tell you that's cap. That's
well, I don't know
cap.
which friend you're talking about, but I want you to tell them I'm on the same page with them. Shout out to whoever this friend is. There are levels, and I love TP. Shout out to TP, champion, Finals MVP. I won't go to say that he's underrated because I think he does get, you can't be, I don't know what the opposite of a media darling is, but you can't be that while being a San Antonio Spur. Like all San Antonio Spurs are loved. Like I'm not letting you, what I'm saying, get crazy with that.
Yeah, I'm not getting crazy with that, but I will say like it's closer than you think. I think people tend to, I think people get caught up in the Steve Nash on the regular season tour and what he did in the regular season, stuff like that. But like in the playoffs, Tony Parker was better than Steve Nash almost every playoff that he's been in. Tony Parker used to turn into the best point guard in the world during the playoffs. Like it may not sound pretty because Tony Parker wasn't like flashy and stuff like that, like a Steve Nash or like maybe a Jason Kidd, but like he used to get busy when it mattered the most. I think people tend to forget that. Like all this stuff is cute in the regular season. That's what people talk about James Harden. James Harden is one of my favorite players of all time. People talk about James Harden, 36 points average in the regular season, going like 60-point triple-double in the Garden. Like, it wasn't a triple-double. I think that was in Houston. But yeah.
Yeah, it was at the Garden, but he did have a big performance at the Garden.
Yeah,
just like
I think he had a
60-point.
I think he had a 60-point performance, but 60-point triple-double in Houston. Like, that's what I'm saying. Regular season. But like the playoffs, like, that's when things matter the most. That's when like you really become a legend. Like Tony Parker, the regular season numbers really wasn't that great compared to like other high-level point guards. But in the playoffs, when it matters the most, he was always looking like the best point guard in the world, man.
But
it's not just me that think that. Like Charles Barkley, like it's guys that's talked about it several times on several occasions. It's the reason why LeBron James was guarding Tony Parker in the finals, man. Like let's talk about it.
But okay, again, if you were to make this a segment where we talk about how cold Tony Parker was, I'm all for it.
No, right? I want to make this a segment where you come saying that it's not even close with Steve Nash and Tony Parker, which was nonsense.
Lines are going to be drawn right there. Lines are going to be drawn right there. I used to hate what TP used to do to the Lakers and stuff. Hell, Steve Nash too. But I'm not going to sit here and say that he was better than Steve Nash. And to your point too, just real quick about the James Harden and playoff success. Sometimes it matters who you end up facing in the playoffs, right? Like sometimes a huge factor in all this is your opponent. And, if a team is better than you, a team is better than you, especially when I don't view you as like a Kobe or LeBron or KD. Those guys, I don't really give a damn who you're playing against because I have such high expectations for you. But for some players, it's like, okay, I get why you lost this series. It makes sense. Yeah. You probably shouldn't have fold, but I get it. You feel me? You ran into the Warriors or you ran into Kobe and Shaq. Shit happens. But yeah, I mean, Tony, I love TP, bro, but I just think there's levels. All right, so if that's the case, right? Hold on.
How's it so much levels when you look based on like Tony Parker's best statistical regular season was better than Steve Nash's MVP year? Like, what are we doing here?
Okay,
what are we saying here? Like,
okay, cool. Okay, cool.
Head to head matchups, because we know back then head to head actually mattered back then, because it wasn't no like cross matchups. Like head to head, it's just like Tony Parker was giving Steve Nash that work as well. So it's just like,
I mean, Steve Nash wasn't Gary Payton. I don't know if you expect him to lock players down.
No, I'm not saying that, but head to head does matter, like what you do against your opponent. So I don't think it's like as crazy as people want to pretend. Like Steve Nash was a dog, man. Like Steve Nash was a dog, but Tony Parker was a dog as well, bro. Like
absolutely. All right, so fine. You want to keep using the name Steve Nash. So my thing is, right, when we talk about the top point guards of all time, right, there's two guys who, right, tiers, levels. We're not even going to waste our time. Steph Curry, Magic Johnson. Yep. Bam. They're over there somewhere, and everyone else is whatever. So now we have names like Chris Paul. We got names like Isaiah Thomas. We got names like Russell Westbrook. I won't say D Rose just yet because of injury. Obviously, we know what he was doing in his peak, but out of respect for these other guys when we talk about longevity. So we got Steve Nash, Gary Payton, Jason Kidd, John Stockton. So where does Tony Parker fit into all that? Because you keep saying Steve Nash, but let me tell you something. Steve Nash and Jason Kidd ain't that, you know what I'm saying, ain't like miles away from each other. So is Tony Parker ahead of Jason Kidd?
Tony Parker, Jason Kidd, and Steve Nash are all in the same category to me. Like,
okay, cool. They're in the same category. Is Tony Parker ahead of Jason Kidd?
Is Tony Parker ahead of Jason Kidd? I mean, it depends on what you value.
I'm asking you. It
depends what I had to look at all three guys and really break things down to a T. But all I'm saying is it's like it's closer than people want to try to pretend. Like it's not a big gap between Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, and Tony Parker. That's not the case. It's more like Steve Nash, Tony Parker, and Jason Kidd are all in the same circle. It's just like a pick me. Close your eyes. Which one do I want to pick? Okay, cool. Whoever I get, I'm rolling with. That's how it is, bro. That's how it is, bro.
No, I feel that way. That's similar to my that's similar to my best player in the world. Like who's at the table? Close your eyes. You pick who's. That's not the case. If there's a table with Steve Nash, Tony Parker, and Jason Kidd, damn it, I'm gonna open my eyes and pick one of the Jason Kidd or Steve Nash. It ain't gonna be okay. And I love TP. Like I said, he's a champion. I mean, what he did with San Antonio is something that should be appreciated and respected. But again, as we say, there are levels. There are. Those other two guys.
It's not. No. Yo, you disrespectful, yo. You disrespectful, yo.
Those two other guys.
Tony, like I said, people talk about, like I said, regular season. Steve Nash was always better than Tony Parker in most regular seasons. But like I said, Steve Nash's MVP season, Tony Parker had a better regular season. Like he was like 22 points or something. And then we look at the playoffs. Tony Parker had a better playoffs one year in 2009, or I think he won. Did he win the? When did he win the? I don't know. 2009
Finals MVP.
I don't know when he won the Finals MVP, but I know in
2007 we played those
That's fine, but in 2000, that's fine. But in 2009, he averaged like 28 points per game, bro, like 7 assists. Like people forget how cold he was in the playoffs. In the playoffs, bro. I'm not talking about the regular in the playoffs. Like it's serious, bro.
No, I hear you. I'm just making sure we got the right date. When did TP win Finals MVP? For 2007, against those Cavs teams. Which let me tell you something.
That's fine. And he was better than and for a guy. And they were young. It was trash, but still, he still has a Finals MVP to his name. And for a person that loves defense, loves talking about everybody got to play defense. Steve Nash damn sure wasn't playing no defense compared to what Tony Parker was doing.
Well, so first of all, okay, all right. So see, that's where you're going to get your own argument. You sit here and talk about one-on-one, saying that Tony Parker got the best of him and he cooked him, but then saying Steve Nash wasn't a great defender. Yeah,
I'm saying Tony Parker played both sides of the ball as well. I know you value that. That doesn't really. Jason Kidd played both sides of the ball as well. Like,
listen, if you would have convinced me on Tony Parker, it don't gotta be a defense thing. You already know where I really stand. It's he won. That's where your argument should lie. He won.
He won, but also, like I said, it's skill to skill. You give the edge to Steve Nash and probably Jason Kidd, skill to skill. But like Tony Parker was very skilled, and also probably a top 5 when we talk about speed, north to south, basketball court, like he was very, very legit in that aspect as well. Like during his time, like top 5 quickest guard in the league during his time where he played. It's just like, I don't know, bro. I think it makes people uncomfortable because people love Steve Nash. They see the highlights and stuff like that, see what he did with the San Antonio Spurs, but with the Phoenix Suns, but like he had a team of his own. Like people love to talk about like, oh, like Tony Parker had Manu Ginobili, had Tim Duncan, but like Steve Nash, when they went up against each other, he had a squad of his own. Like Sean Murray and Joe Johnson, like those guys weren't like they weren't like LeBron James' Cleveland Cavaliers team. So it's just like, yo, like when you really compare the two and what they were doing, the head-to-head matchups, and also like look at their best regular season, their best postseason. Other than shooting the ball and handling the ball, it's just like, I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, Steve Nash is definitely one of the greatest shooters of all time, though.
Yeah.
Like, and it's crazy to think.
90?
Yeah, when it's crazy to think that he's probably best known for his assists and stuff like that. But he had the clip. And also too, in talking about Tony Parker, I think what's crazy about him is his ability to finish around the rim, like in the paint, and not just being small, but not having a great amount of athleticism.
Talking about
right,
it.
like even with Kyrie, the him being crafty and just creative, we're just like, oh my god, like it's art.
Kyrie, yeah,
he's what I'm saying.
He's
like
really athletic.
You talking about D Rose and Russ, there's strength, there's athleticism, but with Tony, it's like, yo, he wasn't either of those 3 players.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like even if you want to argue the craft and stuff, it wasn't like Kyrie.
No.
Right?
No.
It wasn't like, hey, you feel me? Like but still he managed to get a bunch of points in the paint and around the rim at that size and without that a wild amount of athleticism or strength.
You used to lead the league multiple times as a guard doing that. So
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Doing that. And like you said, not being the most crafty player around the rim or having like the explosiveness of athleticism when we talk about layup packages like a Steve Nash or like a Kyrie Irving or even Derrick Rose, even Russell Westbrook for us, like pure athleticism. Mm-hmm. Steve Nash was like, Tony Parker was very, very like, cold at getting to the rim, but it's just kind of like he always used to operate on angles and also like he didn't have like he had a handle, but it was just like everything he did was so simple. You know what I'm saying? It was just like angles, simple crossover, and also hesitation. And then he had the greatest floater a guard has ever had in the history of the game. So it's just kind of like those 3 things just goes to show you like he kind of mastered the fundamentals. We always talk about like with kids growing up, they think you got to be so flashy. You can be a great basketball player by just mastering the fundamentals. And Tony Parker is the perfect and prime example of that because he mastered the fundamentals and basically became a top 10 guard of all time, point guard of all time in my eyes.
Tony Parker or Damian Lillard?
Tony Parker.
Tony Parker or Kyrie Irving?
Kyrie.
So Kyrie, TP, Dame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it depends on what we just talking about. Like are we talking about like talent, skill set?
Okay. If you had to choose, my apologies. If you had to choose
to run my franchise
one player if you had to choose one player who you feel should be on the top 75 list, who would you choose? Oh. Tony Parker, Kyrie Irving, or Damian Lillard?
Tony Parker, without a doubt. It's not even a question. Tony Parker. Easy. He's easy. I don't even like we had a conversation our last pod, we were talking about like Dame is not the guy to really like to hone on in or like he made the top 75. It's way other guys to really hone in like, yo, they shouldn't have made it or whatever. But like for this sake of this argument, without a question, there's no way that Damian Lillard should have been over Tony Parker. No way. But it's also like a lot of guys shouldn't have been over Tony Parker.
And it's crazy though. I mean, the Kyrie, I get. The Dwight Howard, I get. T-Mac even I get. And the only reason why I say I get and I understand is because whatever the opposite is of a media darling, those gentlemen probably fit that bill, right? Yeah. In terms of not getting the attention that they want, especially Kyrie now. We're seeing it, unfortunately, just like everyone got negative opinions and things to say about him, but may quickly forget what, he's done and capable of. So Kyrie, T-Mac, and Dwight. But I was surprised guys like Tony Parker, guys like Clay may not have been it because everyone loves those dynasties, or at least those types of NBA media people, they love those dynasties, right? And it's not just because of them winning. I think it's because of the way they won, right? The Spurs and the Warriors, maybe, pre-Kevin Durant era with some people. But just like, you can't hate Steph. You can't hate Clay. You can't hate Manu. You can't hate Tim Duncan. You sure can't hate Tony Parker.
Well, Tony Parker out of that trio was the most like hated in a way. Like it was like it's some stuff that happened with Tony Parker over the course of his career where people, Tony Parker kind of rubbed a lot of people in the Spurs organization the wrong way, and a lot of people, in the NBA the wrong way as well. But he was still like, because he played with the San Antonio Spurs, he was still like
right. That's and stuff like that. I wouldn't say hated. I mean, he might have been disliked, like you said, rubbed people the wrong way. But there are guys that are hated in this league. There are guys who are straight up like people refuse to support in any type of way. I wouldn't give TP that much credit, if you will, in terms of just being disliked. But yeah,
But answer the question: Tony Parker, Dame, or Kyrie? Top 75. If you had to pick
for top 75,
because we know they all should be in there, but we're just talking about specifically for this point.
Okay, I'm with you. For top 75, I'll go Tony Parker, Damian Lillard, for Kyrie Irving. For players that I would take, like to start my franchise with, sheesh. And my answer would be different. I would say.
But that's a different question. I didn't ask you that because I don't know if I'm taking.
Right. I would take Kyrie, Dame, and Tony Parker. Ironically enough, is that the exact opposite?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that exact opposite? Just cause
why are you taking? That's interesting.
Why am I taking what?
You say you're taking Dame to start your franchise with?
No, Kyrie, Dame, and Tony Parker.
Okay.
I mean, I can't say that there's no wrong answer here, but like we've seen what Kyrie can do when he wants to do it. Like we have seen Kyrie Irving really turn into a madman on the basketball court.
That's true,
and smile. We have seen Kyrie just calmly, here's this 40-piece. Yeah. And I hope you all have a great day.
Yeah.
But
I will say, like, if I had to pick, start a franchise with, even though I would pick Tony Parker over Dame on the top 75 list, I would have to pick Damian Lillard to start my franchise with because I seen Dame be the number one guy for multiple seasons on the franchise. Like, he ain't won nothing. But that ain't really his fault. That ain't really his fault. Yeah.
Completely. Love you, Dan. Obviously.
To a certain degree, but it's just kind of like, we seen him do it with, like, any type of situation, with any type of Portland team. Like, he's, other than this year, really, he's always got his teams to the playoffs,
Yeah, he gonna go to war. I mean, that's one thing I will say about Dame. Everyone obviously always talked about, loyalty and whether he should leave. But one thing about Dame and guys like Russ, they gonna hoop. Right, they gonna play. Like we can sit here and say, like we can judge them off their decisions off the court, where they played poorly, where they should have beaten a certain team, but they gonna show up, right? Ooh. I think that's the one thing you don't gotta worry about. They gonna be there.
They gonna be there, definitely. Switch gears a second. I got into it. This is why I said I don't like talking basketball unless I'm talking on a podcast or it's for my personal brand, AKIS NBA. Like, I got heated yesterday. The conversation I had was the New York Knicks decided to shut down Kemba Walker for the rest of the season.
And I was just getting ready to talk to you about that.
So I don't know if that's just like more so like agreement, because some maybe like Kemba Walker's like, yo, like I did what I could do. Let me save my body. Let me get right for next season, find another team or something like that. Or if it's just the New York Knicks just being a New York Knicks like they did earlier this season. It could be both. It could be like a mutual thing. Who knows? But somebody threw in the chat, was like, thank God Kemba Walker's washed. I said, people throw that word around too quickly. Because people would love to tend to like, yo, when a player's come off an injury and he doesn't return to form very quickly, he's washed. But washed to me, my definition of washed is just like, you're not playable in any situation. Meaning like you're a 9th to 10th man in every situation that you'll go to. Even if you're a former all-star and stuff like that, and you come off injuries and stuff like that, but now for the rest of your career, like you're
a certified role player. Like, then I can understand people say, like, all right, this player is washed. But they said the same thing about Carmelo Anthony. They said, and he came and he was a big time contributor and starter and he was starting with the Portland Trail Blazers. He came out the bench and stuff like that. They said the same thing about Derrick Rose as well. When Derrick Rose was out the league with the Cleveland Cavaliers stint, and people was like, yo, he's washed, he's retired, this and that. And he goes to Minnesota, he drops 50 in a game, then he goes inside a contract with Detroit Pistons, then he goes to be the best player with the New York Knicks in last year's playoffs. A guy that they were saying was washed. So it's just like, people are quick to throw out that word wash, and then that's the first part. I want you to respond about the Kemba Walker. Do you believe that Kemba Walker is washed? Do you believe that like he could ever be a six-man or starter in this league? Because that's what I was told you. I said I was told he's washed and he would never be a starter or a six-man in this league again. That's what I was told.
Do I think that Kemba Walker is washed? You know my answer to that question. Hell no. And you know it's so funny how we throw around that word washed. You think a certain player has already reached their potential and their past is behind them, right? So my question is, who else is better than him? Right? Who do we feel is like, okay, you know what? His prime has passed because someone else is better or has taken his spot. Do the Knicks have like 5 All-Stars that I don't know about? Are they like the second best team in the Eastern Conference? Do they have like, some Hall of Famers rolling around the ground that I'm not aware of? And it reaches the point. One, I'm happy for Kemba. This is the irony. I'm not even mad at the Knicks. I'm actually want to thank the Knicks, right? I wanted it to work out. You feel me? I wanted him to be able to go crazy in the Garden,
He had his moments.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, maybe a different organization might be what's best. Maybe it's time to let go. But it's amazing to hear fans say like, finally, or I'm happy, good riddance. Are y'all used to winning like chips or something? Like, am I watching? Like, is there a different league? Is there
been losing for years?
Like, been losing for years. Got the audacity to say, "Oh yeah, he was a problem. We ain't winning championships since I've been alive." But the dude who's been on our team for a couple of months, you know what? He's the one messing up our chemistry. All right, that's what it was. Like, what exactly are we doing? And I said this too. When Kemba or any player isn't playing well, you take him out and you start winning games. I'm not about this. I can't say shit. I really can't. I'll get on board with that because you winning at the end of the day.
You win.
But don't take him out, keep losing, try and think of some other trades, fire a coach, and then think, oh, it was Kemba's fault. No, your team is just cans. Is that a possibility? Maybe your team is just cans. And that's not for Knicks, or that's for any and everyone that might feel that way about a certain superstar, right? I understand the frustration. I am a Lakers fan right now. I understand the frustration. But also look at the bigger picture. If other things aren't working out, maybe, just maybe, you might want to start addressing those before we start pointing to the one dude and say, you know what, man? Woo! I'm so glad he's gone. Now we can lose by 30 now. Like what exactly do we think is about to happen? Now, if they go on a 10-game winning streak, hey, man, I apologize. I really will. I promise you I will.
But you can't even that base thing off of that because like a team can just get hot at that, right time and then like hit the switch or whatever. That's not really going to do nothing. Because we got a lot of games, a lot of evidence. Like it's right here. Stat Muse. 16-21 with Kemba Walker, 43 win percentage. 9-13 without Kemba Walker, 40% win percentage. There we go, right there. So it's just like you was losing with him and had a better winning percentage when he was on the court, and then when he's off the court, you're still losing, but still got a worse winning percentage. So it's just kind of like, what are we doing here? So to act like, Kemba, yes, has Kemba played up to like his standards? No. Has Kemba played up to like my standards or the world standards? Probably not. Is he coming off an injury? That sometimes it takes like people forget, like that's why I always talk about, like I hate doing this, but like this is what I always talk about, like situations and also like playing a sport and knowing like, been in a situation where like, you've had an injury before and it takes time to really recover. Most guys, it takes at least 2 years to really get back to their full self off a injury, a serious injury. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of like you got to really like pump the brakes when we talk about like calling players washed and saying like that. things like that, because it's just like sometimes it's a bad situation. Sometimes this guy's just recovery. Like, now, if this is like next year and the same situation is happening and the following, like, then you can start being like, all right, well, something's up. Like, it's probably it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like to say it, his first bad season, like, as an NBA professional, that he's washed, it's just like, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. It's really crazy.
And even like, and I hate to say it, but I'm just, gonna be real. I understand, obviously we do our best to protect players and not slander them or anything like that. But at the same time, I understand what it's like to be a fan and see your team struggling. And like, you might see a player that's harmful to the overall success of the team, whatever. But even in saying that, right, you don't think a certain player should be on your team.
That's fine.
What other options do you think are out there? Again, is there someone in the damn G League that y'all feel is about to cook more than Kemba? Now, again, like I said, if there is, cool.
He got a 44-point performance this year. Like, what guard is coming out there doing that?
Like
regardless of the fact, like Emmanuel Quickly, I like Emmanuel Quickly. Is he the answer? Like, do you believe he's the answer? Like, is he right now better than Kemba Walker? I don't know. I can't really say.
You ask a lot of Knicks fans, they're probably going to tell you absolutely.
Yeah, they're probably going to tell you.
You ask a lot, they're probably going to tell you absolutely. Yeah. They're going to say like,
they also going to say Obi. They're going to say Toppin better than Julius Randle too right now as well. They're going to say that as well. Like, they're going to say that as well. Like, yo, I like Toppin. Like, yo, he's cool, but like, let's pump the brakes, bro. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And then a legitimate argument could be made that, like, damn, their most talented player is not even playing. So that's an internal issue. Like, Cam Reddish don't even see the court. He's more talented than anybody on that roster. I'm sorry. I'm here to say it. Like, he's more talented than any player on their roster, and he won't even see the court right now. So it's just like the fact that they're just kind of like, yo, putting all this like onus on like Kemba Walker being bad and Kemba Walker being washed. And thank God Kemba Walker's city. It's just like poverty franchise. Like, poverty franchise.
It always relates back to being a poverty franchise. This guy right here.
With the Knicks, it does. With the Knicks, it does. Like,
it's so crazy though. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's another one I want to ask you. I'll let you go ahead. You finish your comment first, and I want to ask you.
Okay, I was gonna say
I got two things.
It's about the Knicks.
No, it's about another player that I'm hearing that I was furious about saying it was Warsh. So it's crazy.
Okay, cool. Because my last thing is about the Knicks, and it just amazed me how a team that is so loved by its city, right, that has the greatest market in the world, the greatest arena in the world, and still struggle with getting crazy free agents or finding a legitimate home for some of the game's best players. That is crazy. Like, this should be the area that gets, talked about, where everyone should want to go. Everyone should want to be a New York Knick. Everyone should. You're in New York. You're going to be loved. Your overall marketing potential is going to increase. But who knows? But who are you getting ready to say?
Another one. That's what I said. People be sipping that sea sauce, that casual sauce. Because it's just like people look at players and be like, yo, they in a situation like, oh, okay. It's just like, yo, it's not working out. He's washed. He's not playing up to what he used to play. Russell Westbrook, I heard he was washed too. I heard Russell Westbrook was washed because like he's in a new situation. And that's what I'm saying. People love to talk about what a player is not doing because what they have seen before in the past. But it's just like they don't never talk about the situation around them. Russell Westbrook is in a situation for the first time in his career where he's the third option. The first time in his career, he's a third option. That is something different when you've always been a superstar. You could put Russ on half these teams right now and just let him cook like he did last year with the Washington Wizards. He's probably averaging triple-double and probably fighting to go to the All-Star game. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to simply say he's washed because he's in a new situation that's not really working, and he's also in a team situation that really hasn't like done anything that really like put him in a successful spot. It's just like Lakers acquired talent. They said, all right, figure it out. They haven't really done anything to really like help Russ or really help LeBron or even help AD because they have no really offensive formula, offensive like identity. So it's just kind of like the sub is like, we're going to put at Russ and say, you're washed though, because you're not the same player. You're averaging this amount of points and stuff like that. That's crazy to me, especially when we just saw him last year helped lead a team to the playoffs with Bradley Beal, a team that hasn't gone to the playoffs for years until Russell Westbrook came. It's just like, it's insane.
I won't say that Russell Westbrook is washed. I would just say that he's still probably adjusting. You know, it's not easy to play with LeBron. It's not, and especially if you're a top tier guy like Russ, like that takes an adjustment. That takes a different type of play.
Especially when the play styles don't match up.
Right, exactly. And I'm not saying that they can't work it out. I'm not sitting here saying that Russ has to be this guy who takes 5 shots a game. But like to go from an MVP type of player to go from a guy where a lot was expected from you in Washington as well as Houston and damn sure in Oklahoma City to now being a third option, obviously, you know, with AD being healthy, now to go to a team that's already won a championship. That's another thing too, right? Like Russ has never won a championship and the teams he's been on before haven't won once, but to be inserted into a culture where like, yo, we got a bunch of championships. You see the banners. You know what I'm saying? We fresh off winning one less than 2 years ago. We want you to come in and quote unquote do your job. Maybe not be the same Russ, but you know, do your job. And that I think takes an adjustment from any player, right? From any human. You're going to be thrown into a different environment and maybe it just takes longer than what a lot of Laker fans wanted to hear. I think people just, you know what I'm saying, they expected the talent to just accumulate and everything was just going to work. Now, again, y'all know I am a Laker fan, so I am just as irritated as y'all. But I'm also not going to sit here and act like there's 30 other point guards that I would rather have on my team. I'm not going to sit here and act like just because we've had a couple of months of him playing poorly means like, all right, you know, let's bring in some rando and have him run the show. Let's calm down a little bit. But I will say though that there's also has to be a timeline or a deadline. And I don't just mean the trade deadline, but a deadline where it's like we say as fans, as podcast hosts, all right, if they don't get it done, if they don't get it done by this point, or if they haven't won a certain amount of games by here, then we can say, all right. And to some people, that time is here. To some people, that time has already passed. I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it either, but saying the player is washed, that's where we have to draw the line.
Okay,
because that's what I'm talking about. It's not that they're like saying like, yo, things not working out. It's the bad fit. It's already, everybody knows it's an awkward fit. Everybody knows the Lakers acquire Russ for talent because they saw what the Brooklyn Nets had. They had 3-headed monster, and the Lakers, LeBron was like, yo, let's get another 3-headed monster, and we need talent. So it's just like that. But it's just kind of like, say a player is washed, where I like I said, I can point to last year where he just helped the Washington Wizards go to the playoffs for the first time in years. So it's just kind of like, I can't get on board with that.
So I think what it is with Wash, especially with you and I and our generation, is that nostalgia is starting to kick in with a lot of people, right? And we are so used to seeing our favorite players be great and playing at the top of their game that anything less of that is shocking, right? A lot of Russ fans are used to him being the triple-double king and being the MVP, but it's like, that's not him anymore, and that is okay. And you can make the same case with LeBron, right? For people that feel the way that LeBron is washed in terms of he's not 2012 LeBron, but that doesn't mean that he's a bum. That doesn't mean that he's washed. That just means he's not who he used to be. Everyone in the world is washed if you want to make that case. If you're not who you were, exactly. And that is okay. That does not mean you're a scrub. That does not mean you're not talented. That just means you're not who you were years ago. But I'm going to tell you this, who Russell Westbrook is now, who LeBron James is now, is a lot better than how current people are in today's world. So if you want to sit here and say, oh, those guys aren't who they used to be, and they're like athleticism-wise and maybe slight talent decline, but it ain't like they should be demoted to, you know what I'm saying, being a ninth man. Like, what?
People love to throw that word around, and Russell Westbrook could go to New York Knicks right now and be the best player on their team. but he's washed somehow. How can one player go somewhere? You got Julius Randle ain't washed. Like, you got a player right now that you talk about washed that can go be the best player on the New York Knicks, go be the best player on the Orlando Magic, go be the best player on the Washington Wizards, go be the best player on the Sacramento Kings, go be the best player on a lot of these teams that I just mentioned, but somehow he's washed. And this is the last one before we get out of here. This is the last one I heard that really it's crazy. It went from like my boil level went from like. The same conversation I was told that Kobe Bean Bryant in his last season in the NBA was washed, and also that he wasn't a top 75 player. It was 75 guys in the NBA better than Kobe Bryant in his last regular season. This is Kobe Bryant in a farewell tour where he still had to be the guy, the main go-to guy, because the Lakers had nobody. And it was just like, I just thought that was disrespectful in a way.
Right. Well, yeah, that was what I was going to say. One, that's disrespectful. And two, I'm not going to get into an argument or debate about that for obvious reasons. But I will say, though, that that last season, that last game was one of the most special moments that, you hear, like, I'm all for debate, y'all, just because, the title of the show and stuff. But if there was ever a game in, like, the modern era where it's like, okay, this is the one moment, the one game where it's like, yo, let's just literally appreciate what's happening. I think it was that. You give out 60 in the final, in your last game. I don't care how many shots it took. You gave out 60 in your last game, and you did it on the same day that another team was making history. Another team was on the verge of winning 73 games. And that was the secondary thing that people were paying attention to. What it takes, what's required to be that special, and the gravity of that moment. And one of my favorite parts about that game, outside of the 60 and it being his last, was the fact that it kind of kicked the Jazz out of playoff contention, right? Like, and that was really kind of in a way like what Kobe was about. Like, yo, every game matters, right? The team itself could have folded, like everyone could have just chilled and whatever, but it's like, go hard 24/7. Like, the mob mentality is a real thing. So I'm not, whether people feel about him not being a 75 player that season, cool, sure, agree, disagree. I don't really care about that. But I will say, though, like, of all things to feel about that last season, I can say for me personally, just that last game, especially today's 224, ironically enough, but just saying that last game, 60 points, I remember where I was at. I remember watching the game and just thinking like, yo, this,
crazy.
I can't say that word, but this dude is really the GOAT for reasons that's just deeper and bigger than basketball. You can see the willpower, and also it carry on with the teammates and the opponents and everyone that was in that arena. So that's what I would say to that.
Yeah, no, and I'm going to say this because it's just like you said, it's nostalgia. People get so caught up in saying like, yo, a guy got hurt. And before Kobe got hurt, he was a top 5 to top 10 player in the league still at his age before he got hurt, coming off 2 years of injuries and stuff like that. And people were accustomed to seeing Kobe Bryant like it was a diminished version of himself from a talent perspective. But like you said, any time that like a player can still go out and get you 60, I don't give a damn like how many players in the league you felt it was better than during that time. It wasn't 75. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not a lot of guys can go out and get you 60 points. And it's just kind of like, people, even with the green light, I don't care what people say, because people talk about like, yo, you get a green light, I can do this. There's a lot of people that got a green light that can't do that. And the reason why they can't do that, because like pressure, like especially when the game is close. It's not like playing in LA Fitness and stuff like that. It's like, yo, when you got fans, when you got, the game is close. Like, it's a lot of things that happens when you're in that environment. Like, you're dealing with physically and also mentally. So it's just like that whole situation when you talk about Kobe Bryant, and I always talk about like situations, it's just like people love to not talk about situations. Kobe Bryant, at his age, coming off a serious injuries, was still asked to be the show, was still asked to be the man, was still asked to be the best guy on a team. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, and people was like, well, he didn't have to do that. He could have changed his role. Who the hell would he's going to change his role for on that team? Why would he do that? Was it like he had LeBron? Was it like he had
change his role?
Was it like he had an all-star caliber player playing alongside him? Who the hell he was going to change his role for? Nick Young? like what? Why would he? Like, why would he do that? So that's what I'm saying. People's arguments never really make sense, and that's what I'm saying. To say that he wasn't a top 75 player in the league once he retired, when Corey Brewer was still in that league, it's just like, what are we saying here? What are we really doing? That's what I'm saying. People get so, like you said this. Like you said this, it's a nostalgia. And what happens is when guys aren't the same, because when people start getting older, they start reminiscing. And when guys aren't the same as they used to be, people tend to like, oh, like he's washed, he's this and that. Oh, he's just different now. You know, so not everybody's gonna be the same. That you know, he's not gonna. You can't expect LeBron to be the same LeBron as he was in the past. Same with Kobe Bryant, especially when you start having injuries and stuff. But to say a guy that was washed and wasn't a top 75 player, to me, it's just like that's that sea sauce, that casual sauce that people be sipping because it really don't make no sense.
You're right. I mean, people, you know, I don't know. I won't say too much on that one, but you got a cap or no cap. I feel like I haven't give you a cap or no cap in a while.
I gave you one last week.
Yeah.
Well, last.
So I got you. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I know what you man. You Gucci. All right. So cap or no cap. We got part 2 of the NBA season coming up. And just talking about overall expectations for them. So
James Harden making his debut, baby.
Ooh, don't get that crazy. Cap or no cap, James Harden will bring the Philadelphia 76ers to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Wow. Man. Should have been a Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid is that engine on that team.
James Harden.
I would say I would love a Philly in Nets Eastern Conference Finals. I would say cap. No, I don't think the Philadelphia Sixers are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's crazy because like James Harden, one of the reasons why James Harden, he was leaving anyway. James Harden was leaving the Brooklyn Nets anyway. I had multiple podcasts where we were talking about it. I was kind of like, you know, telling stuff that I was hearing like without fully saying it. He was leaving anyway, but it's just crazy that like Kyrie about to be able to play home games now. And it's just like it's crazy. Like it was, anytime you lose the worst player in the deal, most of the times you don't end up getting better. But like they got all the missing pieces that people were talking about that they needed. They didn't have a really like true big man. They got Andre Drummond. They was lacking another shooter because Joe Harris is out. They got Seth Curry. They needed a guy that can defend on the perimeter. Kevin Durant cannot be your best perimeter defender. They got Ben Simmons. So it's just like, I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to be here. And I think that like, I know we talk about, you know, cap or no cap. That's a cap for me, but I'm just saying like.
How much?
It's just kind of like, yo, I think the Brooklyn Nets are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think the Philadelphia Sixers are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think it's probably going to be either Milwaukee, Miami, or the Bulls. I think they all have a better. I think they all have a better chance than the Philadelphia Sixers, which is crazy to think about.
The East is loaded, bro.
It's stacked. We're
the
here.
East is loaded, bro.
We're here this year.
I was even ready to say like they can mess around and not even get a home court advantage.
Yeah,
and then that wouldn't even be like with the teams you just named. It wouldn't be like, oh, they underachieve. I mean, all 4 of those teams are.
Mess around, get knocked out in the first round, and don't let the Hawks be a play-in team. It gets scary. Don't let the Bulls play the Hawks in the first round. It gets scary because you got a team that's already did it and a team that ain't never done it before. Like other than DeMar, like it could get real scary. This next like, you know, 20 to 25 games of the season is going to be very, very important for certain teams because it's just kind of like in matchups, because matchups is going to be key. Because I feel like, you know, the defending champs could possibly lose in the first round, depending on who they play.
I won't get that crazy.
It depends on who they play.
It does not matter. It does not matter.
It doesn't.
Okay, so outside the teams you just named, right? Who we got around?
The Brooklyn Nets are the 8th seed right now, Theus.
I'm saying if they end up being healthy, outside of Brooklyn, all right? If Ben Simmons plays and Kevin Durant plays and Kyrie Irving play, they're not going to remain an 8th seed for too much longer. They're not about to. I don't see the Nets being a play-in team. I know as of right now.
People said the same thing about the Lakers last year. They ended up in a play-in situation. You don't know. We don't know when Kevin Durant coming back. We don't know when Ben Simmons is going to be available. We don't know when Kyrie's going to have this mandate is going to go from, oh, Kyrie can play full time. It says it's expected in a month, but we don't know. In a month, that's 12 games. That's 12 games.
Even if that's the case, I would still pick the Bucks because I don't care like who's on your team. If you're an 8th seed, you're an 8th seed for a reason. And the reason why I say that is because if Kevin Durant, no, for real, because if Kevin Durant or Kyrie and Ben Simmons, let's say just for example, they all come back and play for that, they sit out for the rest of the season, whether it be injury, vaccine, shit, whatever. and they come back for that first game all together, there's still no chemistry. And if there's anything that we have learned from the Brooklyn Nets themselves, it's the importance of chemistry. And so I don't think they're just going to, especially when you're talking about a team if we're saying Brooklyn is an 8 seed and Milwaukee would be the 1 seed, we're talking about a 1 seed. We're talking about a team that just won the championship. We're talking about a team that has chemistry. You're talking about a team that's healthy. You're talking about a team that's hungry. Like, there's nothing that would make me feel comfortable.
But the Milwaukee Bucks may not even get the. Okay, that's fine. But the Milwaukee Bucks may not even get the 1 seed. Like, they're at the 3rd or 4th seed right now. So what if they play like the 3rd seed and play the 16th? Okay, what if they play like the Miami Heat and they're the 3rd seed and they play the Miami Heat that's a 6th seed?
Miami Heat aren't about to finish at a 6th seed.
I'm just saying, or whatever. I'm just saying, what if seeding does not like fall in a favorable matchup to the Milwaukee Bucks? I can't see anybody in the East. I think the Milwaukee Bucks should be the favorites to make it to the NBA Finals coming out the East. I believe that. I really do. But I'm saying it ain't no cakewalk, and it depends on. It's gonna depend on matchups this year.
Right, absolutely. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, so we got Milwaukee, Miami, Philly, Brooklyn, Chicago. Those are the 5 teams that I feel like might cause some matchup problems. I am talking about the teams after that. I am talking about the Atlantas, the Charlotte, the Washington, the Indiana, literally everyone else in the Eastern Conference. Like, whoever Milwaukee or one of those top 2, 3 seeds, Boston even. Well, actually, Boston playing.
Boston been cooking. Here we go to seeds right here.
Yeah.
This the order.
Boston being inactive.
Yeah, exactly. This is the order. That's what I'm saying. Like, Miami's number 1 right now. Chicago's number 2. Philly's number 3. Cleveland Cavaliers number 4. Milwaukee's top for 4.
Cleveland, yes. I apologize, Cleveland Cavaliers fans. I apologize.
So 4 or 5 right now is Cleveland and Milwaukee. Milwaukee's at the 5th right now. The Celtics are number 6. The Toronto Raptors are number 7. The Brooklyn Nets are number 8 right now. So that's what I'm saying. Other than the Toronto Raptors, I feel like no disrespect to Cleveland Cavaliers, other than the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers got a lot of things got to get right for them to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They got Karis LeVert.
What position are the Raptors and the Celtics in?
The Celtics are the 6th, the Raptors are the 7th. But to me, personally, other than the Toronto Raptors and the Cleveland Cavaliers, anybody can lose in the first round to me. I'm here with it. Anybody.
Yeah.
Including the champs. Because like this East right now, it's kind of how the West used to be back in the day when Kobe Bryant had to go was going up against everybody. It was 50 teams, won 50 games, and still won the NBA Finals. Like everybody play out, everybody good. Like that's how it's gonna be in the East.
All right. Yeah, don't let the Nets or the Sixers lose in the first round. Matter of fact, don't let both teams lose in the first round. That would be hilarious.
Yeah. It gets nasty.
It gets nasty.
It gets nasty.
Look, it gets nasty if both teams lose in the first round and the Bucks win the championship.
It gets nasty if the Bucks lose in the first round. It gets nasty.
Not really.
Yeah,
not as nasty as you might.
Yeah, it does. Because it does. It gets nasty because it's gonna be people like me that's gonna be like to talk me. About like it's gonna talk about maybe that COVID that COVID playoffs was a fluke. You know what I'm saying? And not me. I'm just saying people gonna really talk about like the Bucks had beat a healthy team the whole way to the finals. That's why they won.
You're gonna be one of those people that say like, your man's was supposed to be like that. What happened? I thought he was him.
Yeah,
I thought he was that guy.
It's gonna be a lot of conversations. Let me tell you, the Bucks, the Nets, and the Philadelphia Sixers. Nobody is safe on those teams. One of them 3 teams better go to the finals because ain't nobody safe. Especially Milwaukee is like the tail end, like because they won a championship, of course. But like Philly and the Nets, they better at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals because it's gonna be a lot of noise if they don't. Especially the Nets.
Especially for me. Especially for me. Hey guys, remember when you guys told me that so-and-so was really like that? Why the hell did he lose in the first round in 5 games? Why in the hell is he not playing in June?
Slow down, Laker boy. y'all team ain't even make the damn playoffs. So
man, we might be fine for a 10th seed, bro. He might be fine for a damn 10th seed, but who knows? But yeah, enjoy this second half of the season. Hope your team gets all the dubs that your heart desires. Make sure y'all go smash the 5-star rating button on everywhere you get your podcasts. All right, follow, like, subscribe, do what you got to do. It's much appreciated. And just like that, y'all, we gone. Peace. What's up, y'all? It's Steve McBee. Make sure you go follow No Pump Fakes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.